Please welcome Darren from Trimble, Kaustubh from 4M, Matt from National Grid, and Ed from WSB. Take it away, guys.
Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, all of my presentation was covered in the previous panel. So everything that I'm going to say is just repeat of what previous panel said. Trust but verify. AI is not there to replace engineers, so just pace for that. Repeat information. I've given you heads up. All right, can we get the computer share on the screen? All right, as that comes through, what we're going to do is just walk over what 4M as a product is, quick overview, and then Matt and Ed will go over a real-life scenario, what happens in a real life, how do you tackle it, the challenges of utilities, and how hard it is to navigate through the maze that we have put up as a human civilization underground, and these guys have to deal with day in and day out. And then we will have, as Justin said, actual on-site demonstration. There's Trimble team out there. Today the weather is nice, so I'm not feeling sorry about that. But when they were at Georgia, they were out there in cold. So today is a better day to be out. And they will demonstrate actual augmented reality, how the data from 4M streams to Trimble. And we'll talk about future. And towards the end, we will obviously have question and answers. So 4M. What is 4M? We are mapping the subsurface. We started as an AI data aggregator, but now we are evolving into something way more. And Idzik pointed out in his conversation or in his panel that the entire system is now shifting towards from records to visual reasoning and using AI and using agentic workflows to reason why the utilities exist. It's about equipping the engineer with that right reasoning. And it's not about replacing anyone. It's about giving the right tools to engineers, another tool in their tool set to make sure they're making the right decisions. Idzik, as I said, everything on my slide is covered in the panel. So Idzik stole this slide and talked about the challenges in the industry. What are the challenges? And he's absolutely right. It's about fragmentation, fidelity loss, query challenges, shareability silos, and updatability. Every single aspect of this data, it's not only limited to utilities. In our industry, doesn't matter what type of data you're talking about, it goes through these different challenges. Just to give you one data point, because there is a research available on this data point, and I'm sure that data point is also applicable to owners, utility owners, but on the DOT side, 15 to 50% of DOT employee time is spent for searching data. Imagine, at a state level, that's millions of dollars, up to like $300 million. I'm sure on the utility owner side, it is somewhat the same, and we as an industry are spending tremendous amount of time collecting the data, storing it somewhere, usually fragmented way, then searching it 5 years later, trying to figure out what was the accuracy of data, and it just repeats over and over again. And adding like petabytes of data without tool like 4M is not going to solve the problem, right? So we as an industry are just creating huge data dump, LiDAR capture, I don't know, you just name a device, high definition, drone imagery, it just goes and sits somewhere. Really now we have a tool, AI tools, where we can now start deploying this really intelligent tools where we are synthesizing value out of this data, not only just data processing, but how do we build more agentic workflows on top of it? How do we start making sense of the data so that you don't have to just look at a long 500-page report and trying to make sense of it? So that's the vision behind 4M. That's what we are driving towards. So here is kind of a quick overview of how 4M works. We started with collecting public records. So here's an actual view of Dallas downtown. All the lines that you see are what we found in public record. So in an urban environment, as you can see, it's not lack of data, it's too much data. One data source is showing the line is middle of the road, other is saying on the other side, it's a chaos. So first thing that we built, and this was built about 3 years ago, is a conflation engine, which can take all of these data sources, millions of records at a state level, bring it down, remove duplicates, figure out the coordination challenges. But that was the start. Where we evolved from that point is now looking into the image processing side of things. So now we are combining the public records with actual imagery, street-level imagery, aerial imagery, satellite imagery, and finding evidences of where the utilities are. Those are on-surface utility objects, but we are not stopping there. We are going and identifying road marks. Back to the point that Idzik was mentioning, if you want to find about where the utilities are, today all you have to do is just call 811 or submit a ticket. Someone will come and put all these road marks on the ground. So is the data truly secured and hidden? No, it's available to anyone. I can walk and I can figure out literally there are road marks on the ground for gas lines, right? So in a way, it's a public information. So we are just honing on that fact, collecting historic imagery, going back multiple years, and I'll show you in the demonstration, and that creates a whole new product and intelligence layer, which is now bringing together the GIS records, the on-surface objects, the road marks, and the next evolution, which will literally happen in a couple of months, is we are now going to create 4M-based lines, meaning these lines never existed in any record. There was no indication, no permit, no document in public record indicating the line existed. But now we have historic evidences where either based on the trenches, based on the locator marks, based on the on-surface objects that we see, 4M can now compile all of this information from the history to the present and say, we have a high degree of confidence a line is present over here. Or we have a medium degree of confidence, line is somewhere over here, right? So not only we are giving you the information, but we are also sharing our confidence on that line. Because in some situations, we may have a very low degree of confidence that a line might be there. And you as an engineer, trust but verify, right? You as an engineer need to go and act on that information. So we are doing this at scale, so it's not only one particular project, but it's happening at a state level. And by end of this year, it will happen at the entire nation level. So all 50 states, we will be able to apply this process. And that truly creates a unique data set. Back to previous panel's discussion, like AI as a next word prediction is what we have as these large language models. But with this type of data set, what we are building is truly utility subsurface model, which will be way more than just predicting next letter, but it's about predicting what are the challenges in infrastructure. As I said, this is just repeating that we are detecting multiple evidences at scale. We are building that live visual evidences. And for the utility owners, we are working with the utility owners to tune our model for particular evidences. So for an example, in New York area, working with National Grid, they will have certain indicators which are National Grid specific. So as we work, and that's fine-tuning of our model. So as we work with more and more owners, the quality of our visual inference will become better and better. And this is something very interesting that we are finding. As Ed mentioned, we are working with multiple DOTs, and our initial proposition was, okay, our data, again, going back to the discussion of accuracy, we are not claiming our data is most accurate. So myself, as a product manager, I thought, okay, the best use case is in the planning phase, right? Where you can use 4M to identify what are the risks, what are the challenges you're going to face in that project. But as we started working with DOTs and utility owners, what we are finding is our information, the map that we are providing, is actually applicable in the later phases of the project too. We have DOTs who are using our product for emergency maintenance use case because without our product, they were just going out there without any data and relying on everything on surface objects. With our product, they have much more better visibility going into a project. As we are working with National Grid, there are damage prevention use cases that we are uncovering. So industry, and again, the topic of today's conference, Build Better Together. We are coming together, we as a technology provider, owners and engineers and figuring out, okay, how do we take this technology and how do we solve multiple workflows that we all face challenge into. And last, before I jump into the actual use case, this is something that we are evolving into. The 811 responds to a ticket dynamically based on our data. Again, this is not replacing any existing workflow, not at all. We're not saying, oh, don't send locators. That's not what we are saying. Rather, what we are saying is this is an additional technology. This is a due diligence that you can do on a ticket on top of everything else that we are doing. We as an industry, we are all trying to reduce damages. We're all trying to make our infrastructure more and more safer. Our product just adds another value addition in that overall ecosystem. So with that being said, I'll hand it over to Ed to talk about the use case.
Perfect. All right, Matt. So it sounds like you're dealing with the conflict and potential project. You want to give us a little overview on the site?
Sure. So good afternoon, everybody. So for today's exercise, I wanted to give the team the most realistic exercise to kind of walk through. So the example we're going to give is on the street outside. The city of New York is replacing a water main. Their water main's 100 years old, and they're going to bid it out to a contractor for replacement. And exactly where they want to install their new water main, National Grid has a gas main in that area. So through the relationship with the city of New York, we're going to relocate our gas main, and National Grid is looking for the best location that we can relocate our gas main to give the city of New York the best lane possible to install their new water main.
Great. That sounds good. We can jump out to the field team, but I think Kostub was going. Are you going to show the Connect data now, or are you going to wait?
Okay.
We're going to wait.
Okay. Oh, we're waiting. All right.
Yeah, so what we'll start with a quick demonstration. We heard from Matt what is the project that we're going to do. So what I'll be doing is just coming to the product. I already have created a polygon, which is the exact location where we are at. I'm going to click on next. Let's call this gas excavation, energy, and let's say we are just studying what's out there. And let's look at the utility map. So I hope my internet connection works. There. Within seconds, we have the GIS records that are streaming in, right? So all the GIS records that we have collected from public information is over here. But as I was mentioning, this is not enough. Let's look at how the fully evolved product looks like. So within few minutes, for this size of area, I would say it will take 20 minutes. Within 20 minutes, we will have all of this imagery-based analysis done. So we can say, all right, there are road marks that we identified. These road marks are coming from 2018. If we look at some other road marks over here, they're at 2021. If we can look at the pole attachments, here we can see here is an electricity pole identified, the loop attachments, the splice enclosure, and let's actually go to the problem area. So here, based on what Matt mentioned, National Grid has to move a line over there. So there are road marks. For an example, you can see this yellow mark on the road that we have captured, how faint that is, but our algorithm is able to capture it. Not only capture that road mark, but place it on a map. That's something we have developed for the last 2+ years, ability to capture things at scale at a different timeline. So within a street, we can go back 4, 5, 6, up to 10 years, capture those things, and place it on a map. So when you're going out in the field, you have a very comprehensive view of what's out there. So you can see the gas line road marks over here, plus some other utilities, plus some on-surface object. So that is literally what you get in a matter of few minutes. To get to this level of data, using conventional process, it would have taken, I don't know, maybe a few weeks, at least few days. So now we have really crunched that time to first data using our product. And I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, KP. How many of you are familiar with Trimble by a show of hands? Okay, all right, good amount. So what you see here is Trimble Connect, and through an integration that we've done with 4M, we've been able to pull that data into our common data environment called Trimble Connect. Just to step back a little bit, most people know Trimble as a survey company, GPS, surveying, mapping. I'm still learning after 17 years all of the things that Trimble can do in the construction world. Building construction, land construction, road construction. Trimble Connect sits at the center of the physical and the digital world. Trimble has lots of office tools that allow you to plan, permit, maintain, design, and engineer in the office. And then we also have our survey tools, our scanning tools, our data management tools for our field crews. Between that digital and physical world is what you see here, Trimble Connect. So this rich data set that's coming from 4M and using their methods to capture this data, this Trimble extension pulls it in, and now what that enables us to do is to use any number of tools that Trimble has available to field workers to update that information, to validate that information, whether it's with a traditional survey tool like Trimble Access, collect additional information and photos using a tool like our GIS data collection tool, Trimble TerraFlex, or, as we're going to see in a live demonstration from outside, we can visualize this data using augmented reality. That tool is called Trimble SiteVision. So I think with that, Ed, we're going to go do a...
Sounds good, yeah. We've got our guys out there. They've got the data in Connect, so let's see what they're seeing.
Hey, really appreciate the time and the opportunity to share some of this technology with you. What we're going to show you today is a couple of different platforms showing the same Trimble application, field application called Trimble SiteVision, an augmented reality view of all types of data. What we're going to show you today is an unadulterated view. This first part of the demo, we're going to show you an unadulterated view of the data that came from 4M into the Trimble Connect platform, and we'll show that in SiteVision in a way that gives a newfound context to data that you might have otherwise just studied on a map on a screen or on a paper plan. So with that, I think we're just going to take it away here and just kind of walk through some of the features of SiteVision. I've got it on here on a kind of on a handle. It's got a built-in EDM for taking measurements and a smaller phone-based device. And Justin here is carrying the same application on a pole mounted with an iPad. So depending on how you want to take it to the field, you've got a couple of different options. But for that, let's just take it away and kind of look at some of the data. What you're seeing here is all of the 4M data overlaid in the real world context. So you'll see some of the electrical conduit information. We've got the gas line information. Anything that came from 4M is immediately visible here. So now you can see that all in this context. We've got a couple of different views. I'm viewing surface only, but if we wanted to take a look at what it looked like in a pit, giving an idea of the different depths of elevation for some of the features, turning transparency on and off gives you different kind of views to the data that you certainly wouldn't have anywhere in the office.
Let's measure this so we can send that back to design. As we're doing this initial walkthrough, we also have the capability to do measurements. So we're gonna measure this vault and bring that back to design. So when we look at that new location, we kind of are able to show this vault in there as well.
I'm just going to take the smaller one here. But this kind of information, the fact that you can capture this in the field, gives you an idea of the ability to capture data that wasn't originally part of the data set, but it's obviously part of the field exploration that you're doing here.
Yep.
we can bring this kind of data back into the office. So,
And the iPads do have a LiDAR sensor in, so if we wanted to take a point cloud, a scan of this with SiteVision and the iPad, we could do that as well. Right now we're just sharing this, this piece of equipment. Another thing to note is with that EDM measurement, you can take those measurements without physically being there with the pole, which I think is a big advantage when we're doing these initial walkthroughs.
Absolutely, yeah. So what you're seeing here is an illustration again of some of the existing gas infrastructure in addition to some of the others here. But you can kind of see that there was some there's a lateral here. We're not super spatially accurate, but at least the data set is representative of the fact that there's a main and a service and the T and the valve here. So some really powerful context that can be gained here by taking this data out into the field in augmented reality. So with that, I think Justin and I are going to continue on our field exploration back to the office now for kind of talk a little bit more design. We'll be back with you in a minute.
Maybe you guys can talk about, okay, that was a first field visit, just identifying the data, taking some measurements, seeing how much was the actual offset. From there, can you just explain what would be the process from
Sure.
WSP's point of view and also?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we'll do, what we call a constructability review. It's just verifying your site. 4M is a data layer that we do use today for both our utility owners and utility contractors to help our own team with planning and logistics. And I think for you, right, Matt, it's going to help you guys, right, both on the design engineering side, but also with logistics and planning, right, for your team to come out or your contractor to come out.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest opportunities is we know National Grid knows we have to relocate our gas main, but we don't know where we're going to put it. And sometimes reaching out to the other utilities in the area to get their drawings or get their as-built and trying to find the easiest place to relocate our main. This is a great opportunity to get ahead of that before we have those conversations.
Yeah, and the other thing that sometimes we'll do, right, with the same kind of data set is we've leveraged the 4M APIs. So we like to model that, let's say, in 3D. So if we're going to be working with our road contractor, our DOT, or the municipal, sometimes they want the data in 3D versus 2D. The APIs in 4M make that very easy. We just did a project in Texas that was 130 miles of utilities. We modeled that in less than a week in 3D. So it's much faster and easier to get to that 3D-based model, which a lot of your DOTs are moving towards. A lot of your road contractors are going to like that too. But you can deliver it in 2D or 3D, whatever your teams are using. And Darren, I think you're going to show us what that 3D version of the data looks like.
Yeah, and thanks to Ed and his team, we were able to take that, again, that rich data set from 4M, use some Trimble technology. We actually, a couple weeks ago, ran a mobile mapping scanner up and down the street. We used terrestrial LiDAR scanners to fill in the blanks, including this space that we're all sitting in here. But again, this is Trimble Connect. It is an open cloud common data environment. So it does support all the industry standard models that you would expect something like this to support. So we can see the existing gas lines in yellow and then the proposed relocation of those gas lines in black. I think one of the expectations was we were going to eliminate the crossings.
Correct.
So with this, we are moving them to the other side of the street where we're not interfering any longer with any of the other utilities. And just to give some extra context to this project, we can visualize this with the point clouds coming in to show you, what it's going to look like, what kind of impacts to the surrounding environment are going to happen with this rich point cloud and imagery data set that we captured with the Trimble mobile mapping systems. Underneath this is all of the spatial data and the design that Ed and his team have created. So with that, I think the team now is going to visualize this project and just I'm going to use the word, I think I'm going to use it right, constructability walkthrough. Man, I love that word. Words. The team is going to walk through this and see if any other issues come up or if this is a project that can begin to move forward. Back out to the field.
Right on.
Yeah, so we got the existing gas main in here yet, and the proposed now out in the field. So we'll show you where the existing is, and then we're gonna cross the street to where the new proposed design is, and make sure that there's nothing else that we see of any immediate conflicts to that new proposed location.
And what you'll be seeing here as we're walking through this is the model that Darren just showed was the IFC model of the utility design has been created by the WSB folks, and now because it's properly georeferenced, we can now visualize this model, the same model that you were seeing in the office out here in the field. So all this information is now available in this view, which is pretty fascinating given the context that you're able to achieve in this sort of environment. So you can see the manhole appears where the manhole actually is in the design. But most importantly, what we're showing here is that the proposed gas conduit is actually on the far side of the street now. So that's all part of this model, and the fact that I can just spin around down here and we can see all of the data in this model in reality and get a good sense of whether this is truly constructible or if we need to make modifications to it. So a lot of context to be had as part of the ability to see this model in the real world. So it's again a very, very, very powerful tool and visualization object. So we're going to continue walking through there and
So that proposed gas.
Show that proposed gas line over on this side of the street here.
So there is, and this is another important thing, is so we are viewing a lot of that existing utility data here. So this gives us that view of when we do come out here in the field, there's no locates. We have our proposed gas, but we still, the gas company is going to have to, the contractor is going to have to work with the electric company if they don't relocate their line ahead of time. Because we're able to see that there's an electric line near where that proposed gas main is going. So there's going to have to be some coordination there, and this tool works great for that.
So with that, we've got plenty more work to do here to complete our constructability review. So back to the office to kind of wrap things up here.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, so typically once they get done with their constructability review, they'll capture some measurements. They can take notes, right, on what they're seeing in the field with the data. And again, it's this idea of, it's this combination of 4M with an early design, right? And that really does help visually for your field staff to see what they're dealing with. They know where to go for a particular conflict. I mean, what else do you see as an advantage on that workflow, Matt?
Well, one thing I wanted to point out, which the gentleman mentioned before, was we relocated the gas main to the other side of the road. But while doing that, we also had 3 long-side gas services that now are short side. We moved them to the new main, and now that gives the city contractor an open lane to install that water main. And now that those gas services are not in conflict, there's no support and protect. There's no risk of damage. That's where the win is for us.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, guys. I just want to wrap up this session with talking about future, right? You already saw now the data can go from 4M to the field. You can literally visualize that through the AR SiteVision and the AR capabilities. But you also saw them taking measurements. You also saw them clicking on a line. You also saw them verifying, okay, the object is maybe over here or marks are over there. What we are going to work along with our partnership with Trimble is a bidirectional connection, meaning the data that's getting updated or augmented in the field will sync back to 4M, what Itzik was mentioning, the feedback cycle. That is a very important piece, right? We as an industry, that feedback cycle is literally broken in every single step So through this partnership with us and Trimble, working together with an owner, with an engineering firm, we'll have that feedback cycle correctly established. And maybe next year, again in New York, we will have another session. We'll show you how that feedback cycle is working. So that's where we are going. Once again, thanks for your time. And thank you, gentlemen, for amazing conversation.
Thank you.